Okay, thanks. I have to thank you actually for giving us this space here. It's cool that also initiatives like ours can be in a hardware conference in a way, because we do hardware but in another way, and we come from another domain, let's say. But let's start talking about economy. There is a lot of talks about where we're going with economy and this new economy. It's happening. It's actually, we could say, it's the Airbnb economy. So it's a new way to share or use resources that are available that people were not using. So finding new opportunities. But we often wonder who really benefits from this new economy or this path towards a new economy. Most think about money when they think about the economy. How much they have, how much they want, how much they will make next year. Then some people talk about trust in the economy, and then I get really excited because I think trust is a human value. And they're talking about the economy, but then they start talking about lack of trust in the banking system. The truth is that in such an interconnected world, as you know, there's not anymore just a buyer or a seller, or we cannot talk about the economy just as being an exchange of things. And if you look up the very definition of economy in Wikipedia, you will see that it's about culture and it's about technological development and how our society is organized. It's even about ecology. It's also there. And it's also about the context in which this economy happens. What happens now is that the context is not our city or our country anymore, but the context is the world. So let's better talk about value, I think. If we talk about value, we believe that we are putting really people, planet, profit on a level playing field, because you don't talk about money anymore, but you really talk about the value that you can have for these three poles. And there is this quote that I love, that I got to know by reading Raj Patel, but it's actually from Oscar Wilde, that says that nowadays people know the price about everything, but the value, the real value of nothing. And that was 150 years ago, and I think it's the same for today. Because we have all this stuff at home, and some people think they know what this stuff is and where it comes from, but actually, as Jesse very well said, we don't have a clue. So I'm Miquel Ballester, I'm part, as I said, from the team of Fairphone, and we are trying to change the way we look at products and how we relate to them, actually. And it happens that we do that by making a phone, which might be not the easier approach, but a mobile phone is definitely a very present product all over, and that has a supply chain that definitely goes through different contexts in the world. But anyway, what do we know? We're just a bunch of people in Amsterdam, traveling around the world, of course, and a bunch of crazy partners. So we said, okay, let's take it step by step. We make a product, and we see what we get. We like to say that we are strategically naive, because it's a tool that we normally use to knock on the big doors and make these stupid questions, and then they think like, oh, you're such a cute company, little pet project. We want to support you and do this great stuff that you want to do. So that's how we manage also to have like big partners with whom we can do big projects. But let's see where we started, because I think it's interesting. We really started as an initiative, like shouting about the situation in East Congo related to conflict minerals and how that relates to nearly everything that's around us, actually. How these materials come in the products that we have, and therefore we have a certain responsibility at least to know about this situation. So Bas, our founder, and Bibi, who at that time was just a girl from the community, so we had a small community, which was a newsletter, so people would subscribe to the newsletter, and Bibi sent a letter. They had to send a letter to join this fact-finding journey to Congo, and she sent the letter, she got accepted, and you will see that we will talk about Bibi a lot, actually. So they went to Congo anyway to really talk with the miners and get first-hand information about what are their needs and what are the different stakeholders that are involved in all the problems around the mining sector in Congo in particular. There is a movie you can see on our website. This is an excerpt of our Facebook page, but I think it's especially interesting because it talks a lot about the approach. This is, I believe, some months later after they came back from Congo. And it's basically in Dutch, but maybe some read, but I will explain it. On the same page, so literally like 3 posts away from each other, KPN, which is actually the biggest operator in the Netherlands, said, yeah guys, if you make it to, we like how you think, if you make it to actually produce a phone, we will buy the first batch. Okay? And they published that. 4 posts down, it says, literally, hey, these minerals that we brought from Congo, they contain 8% of cobalt. So, on one hand, we have like the biggest operator in the Netherlands saying we will sell your first batch of phones, and we're talking about stones still, so not even a product. Anyway, after 2 years of urban mining and going up and down in different events, trying to raise awareness, not only anymore about Congo, but just in general about electronics and how repairable it is. Actually, we had workshops on repairability and urban mining. It was time to take the project to the next step. So you can shout about things, but there's so much you can shout. You always hit your head against a wall, actually. So we applied for an acceleration program, Bethany Ventures in London, funded by Nestle. Actually, Bethany was talking about Nestle in her presentation. They were as crazy as taking us. So we went through these 4 months of program, learning about funding, about branding, and about all the possible IAGs that are out there. And I have to agree with Alex. She said this morning they are too short, and they are really too short. Because once you get to demo day, you present your idea, and you have a lot of things to go through, but then it's like, and now, where is that holding hands? Anyway, we set our strategy and we defined the areas of impact where we wanted to set our projects. We wanted to do it in a step-by-step, but always in a very holistic way, so really connecting the dots, and I'll give you some examples during my presentation. Instead of talking about the project, we'd like to run you through 3 different projects that we've been part of, and I hope it helps to exemplify. So welcome back to Congo. Just a little bit more about Congo. Congo is the richest country in the world in natural resources, and the poorest country in the world in GDP. Actually, it's literally the last country in the whole list of Wikipedia for GDP. This is Bas, by the way. I'm going to oversimplify about Congo, but Bas says there is a lot of guys with guns, and there is the good guys with guns, MONUSCO and army, and the bad guys with guns, but the worst are the ones that you don't know if they're good or bad. So that talks a little bit about the complexity and about the mess that we have there. Luckily, there are initiatives that support a more healthy environment around mining. Solutions Network is a very big initiative of different companies, NGOs and other organizations that work in different materials, specifically in tin and tantalum. So tantalum is the famous coltan mineral. Tin is from cassiterite. Tin comes in our electronics, well, we use it for soldering paste to literally solder everything that comes on our PCB. And tantalum may come in capacitors, for instance. So we supported the initiatives to, what we wanted is to bring tangibility to the initiatives and to be able to bring those materials to our phones of the first batch. So it's really about this, or this is the second step after they crush the minerals. This is actually how the supply chain of tin and tantalum for Fairphone looks like, and this is only two materials, so imagine how complicated it can get. So it goes all the way from the mines to smelters in Asia, sometimes back to close to Europe for manufacturing the component, back to China to the factory. And there are difficulties also. I will also drop some anecdotes as a startup. The first 12 kilograms of our soldering paste with conflict-free tin from Congo, we were very excited. We just made it to Hong Kong one day before national holidays in China. And this stuff needs to be cold all the time, or as cold as possible. And it made it to a warehouse that didn't have the service for keeping things cold. So basically, one of our consultants had to run, luckily he was in Hong Kong, had to run to the warehouse to get the stuff, bring it into his fridge, and then he sent us the picture. To wait for the national holidays of China, and then after when those were finished, the thing could make it to the factory for producing the PCBs of the first prototypes. On that PCB, you can also see that section. You can also see, well, there's a small tantalum capacitor that looks a little bit like this. That also contains the tantalum from the other initiative from Congo. I want to talk also about tools that we use, and I was also talking with Bethany and Daniel about the jewelry industry, for instance, and how they have also gone through this with the blood diamonds. You've probably heard of it. The difference is that with the ring or an earring, the connection to the mines are really, it's really easy to do. It's like a banana, right? Like you buy a banana from the supermarket, and then it's fair trade, and you enjoy your fair trade banana at home, and you know that somebody was paid properly in South America. With materials in a phone is much more complicated because people basically don't know what's in the phone and where it comes from. So we try to do this kind of stuff. This is just a postcard that came with the phone in the box, where it explained the project behind of the two mines, to make people more aware that that tiny frame that we have there actually contains a very valuable material, valuable in terms of human value, I should say. Hopefully, these projects help that. This is actually a picture, I think it's a very kind picture. This guy actually built this helicopter from scrap that he could find from the industry. So I like it because I think, like, hopefully the initiative will help that this guy has even more time to do this and make their children happy. Another tool that we use is, well, visualizations, and we are going to do that more and more now. That was very much test based on our website. This is basically the cost breakdown of our phone, and this, well, it took us a lot of work, that's one, but it raised so much conversation around all the single topics that you see there. Because there you can see about, you know, how much money the actual hardware costs, but also things like the amount of money that we pay to author rights associations because of every phone. And those are all topics that people don't really know. So it was very much well received. Another tool that we use, and that is also present there, are premiums. With a premium, you can make a very direct link again between the price that the consumer pays for a product to the purpose of that premium. So welcome to Ghana. With one of these premiums, we separated 3 euros per phone. At the time we said, like, to support electronic waste collection, but we still didn't know how. We couldn't find a proper way to do it. Luckily we did. So welcome to Ghana. Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa beans, which I think is something very valuable because we all love chocolate. But it's also the home of a Globos fire, the biggest dump of electronic waste in the world. Talking about value again. I literally, just about connecting the dots, I literally used this picture with our project manager in China from the factory, which I will talk about later, to make her understand how important it was that we would find a cable that was not containing PVC, because stuff gets burned after. And we may be able to do something against this, but today this is happening every day. So this is how you can also connect design with something that happens, I don't know, all the way in Africa. So about this project, and that's Bibi again. So Bibi, that was only part of the community, actually she's the head of our research team today in Fairphone. So basically what we are doing with several partners is collecting 75,000 devices, old, like end-of-life devices in Ghana, bringing them back to Belgium for being recycled properly because they don't have the means there. Just as a first step, and we'll talk about next steps later. Welcome to China as well, and that's Mulan, part of our team as well. China, our simplified sentence, but a country that has taken millions out of poverty, for instance, but that we often wonder at what price. When we were looking for a manufacturing partner in China, we were not looking for the fairest factory in the world, because that doesn't exist. It's that simple. We were looking for the most transparent and the most flexible that we could find. And we joined Wohong, which is a factory in Chongqing, because they showed that they were willing to improve, so they saw also an opportunity in our project to use it as a change maker in their organization. I lost my thread, sorry. So what we did is, so we got there, we went through all the different technicalities until we got to manufacturing contract and stuff. But we were thinking what would be the tool that we can use in this context to make, in this case, the workers' welfare better. After consultation of NGOs and different organizations, we came to the conclusion that a fund was needed. And basically what we did is, again, a premium from the fund, we put it into a fund. We managed that the factory would match it. So actually it was 75,000 euros from our side, or well, from the buyer side, because actually it's not our money, and $75,000 euros, sorry, from the factory to put in a fund. And the thing about the fund is not so much, it is a lot of money, and there is a lot of things that can be done with that money, but the most beautiful thing is that there's going to be elections at the factory, because we need to choose the board for that fund. So there is 3 seats, one is Fairphone, one is a manager from the factory, and one is going to be a blue-collar worker. And that has to be elected from the workers as well. So that really brings, I brought you here the poster that we are using for the elections. So that brings the whole dialogue between managers and workers to a next level. That was also a tool that we had to influence the whole factory, because as you can imagine, they have like 5 assembly lines, I believe, and for our project we were using 1 or 2 sometimes. You don't want to create something that is like, oh, you are from the Fairphone project and then you get this fund. So the fund was really the only way to be able to influence the whole factory. Another little anecdote, my eyes of not having slept, and you don't see my left hand, but probably it was bleeding, because I had to sign a manufacturing contract, 3 copies, more than 500 sheets, signed sheet by sheet. But anyway, next steps. So specifically about these 3 projects, what would be the next steps? We always look at how can we make it sustainable in time. You know, of course, sustainable to sustainability, but especially in time. In Ghana, we are looking already to bringing more value to Ghana itself, not only just taking the phones outside, but supporting local entrepreneurs to be able to, if not recycle in a second step, at least disassemble in Ghana, which creates jobs, and it makes it easier to recycle as well when we take it here to Europe. So that will be the first next step. For the project in Congo, we are actually pushing the initiatives to become more fair trade oriented. So those initiatives are really just about letting people be free to work, so without conflict, without having militias around the mines that control those mines. But the working conditions are still very bad. So we want to move, we want to find the right partners and consortia so that we can move those initiatives into more fair trade thinking. And with the fund, it's really interesting now what is going to happen with the money. I really want to see what is decided, because it has to be an agreement between the factory, between the workers, and Fairphone. Anyway, as I said, we also make a phone, and that's maybe more interesting for the whole startup scene. We were a crowdfunding campaign as well, but we didn't start it, because we had this, you remember that little cute community of our newsletter? Well, that was the way we launched our crowdfunding campaign, which turned to be very successful. So we sold, let me see, we sold around 10,000 devices the first month, and we were aiming at, I believe, 5,000, something like that. So that was very, very successful over the year until before we shipped. So we started shipping in December. I'll talk about that also later. Over the year, we managed to sell everything. So that also shows that there is value for the things, and there is values not only for products that are more sustainable, which I really am not interested in, is for companies that have different values, that make more sustainable products, of course, but those values start from the DNA, and then you have to fix those bugs, and then you launch your first update in 1 month, and after that there's still bugs. But people are still patient, which is really cool. And then you think like, okay, we'll take more for the next update. And we're launching the second very big update next week, I believe, which will solve all of them. But it's not only about supply chain, it's also about how do you make that phone stays in the hands of my customers as long as possible. And then we started this partnership with iFixit, so they developed all the repairing manuals for the Fairphone, and they started selling spare parts themselves in that cute box that says that repair is noble, which I love. Also through our website. And then you get these funny situations where, well, literally 12 minutes after we launched the website for the spare parts, we had an email asking if they could build the phone themselves, if they would buy all the spare parts. When actually the spare parts were there just in case you want to repair your phone because something happened. So it also says a lot that in our community there is some maker feeling as well. And we love it because we believe in that explorative approach to things. And in all ways, so you become like a serious company, you need a customer support, and that's our customer support team trying to think how to improve all the systems for next bet. We've done a lot of improvement already. Another data that is quite amazing from a questionnaire that we launched like 3 weeks ago is that 45% of the buyers are actually first-time smartphone users. So you can imagine what kind of questions come in sometimes and how much time it takes to answer them, but we do it. And again, I think there is a tool that is humor, and I think it's very important. We started selling cases as well after a while. No, I believe with the product, exactly. But they came a bit shrinked in the wrong way. So actually you would put it in your phone and it was the right size and everything, but it would just come off a little bit. So we had to make videos of, okay, take your case. It's fine, it works, just take your case and, fold it a little bit. And on a wider perspective, we are in conversations with NGOs, as I said, and this is just an example that, so we are a phone company, and actually we are in a tweet feed for electronics watch, which is a very big one. So that's great. We are in the portfolio of KPN, so they bought those 1,000 phones in the end that they promised 4 years ago. And it's the first dual SIM smartphone that it makes it to a portfolio of an operator, because they don't like dual SIM, because they think you're going to have Vodafone and Orange together, and they don't like that. And 3D printing, we are exploring how to make cases, and I have some with me, and I can show them later. But not only make cases, but make them more approachable to the average consumer. So that it's really like, I buy my phone, and I buy my case, and I can literally go around the corner and pick it up from the maker that has a printer. And we started the development, and I'm finishing, we started the development of the phone for 2015, so meeting partners, starting design and engineering conversations. There's a lot of topics on the list, like toxicity, as I said. I just mentioned PVC, but there's many other things. hardware architecture for to increase the repairability of the phone. And also to make it easier to assemble, which is again connecting the dots, how the design can make that workers in China actually have it easier to assemble our phones, because I can tell you I have assembled some Fairphones because I sat down in the assembly line. I can tell you how difficult it is to put all those parts together. But we are starting also some initiatives in other materials like cobalt, which we have been working for very long, since the very beginning of Fairphone. Tungsten for vibration mechanisms, all together with NGOs and other companies. Let me see, I'm finishing. That's it, guys. I think that's it. I just want to finish saying that, like, you have the world in your pocket, so that little thing that you have in your pocket actually contains the whole world. And I think we should start valuing it a bit more. Thank you.